Sup you beautiful people, hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to a brand new episode of What If Deku Was Cursed by Death. If you guys enjoy this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel after watching this video. Don't forget to shower some appreciation onto the incredible author responsible for this fanfiction. The link is conveniently waiting for you in the description box down below. Before we get into it though, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So let's start this video. The dark gray skies weren't letting up anytime soon. The harsh rain that fell onto the glass windows and the pavement didn't seem to slow down either. A crash of thunder was so loud that it was as if it had happened near their ears. It was followed by another long roll of thunder, never seeming to come to a stop as flashes of lightning started to brighten up the dark sky. The storm seemed to be an omen, one that screamed danger, but no one paid it any mind. Not the heroes, not the villains, not the police, and sure as hell, not the civilians. A pity that no one wanted to pay attention to the warning. Then again, whoever did pay attention to the warning signs? Humans always had something else in mind, and they decided these omens wouldn't be anything of importance. Only a handful of people actually took Mother Nature's warnings and headed into their homes until the rain let up. These people had decided that they could finish whatever they had planned could wait until the next day. A lone boy with green hair walked through the rain, head down with his hood up and sunglasses covering his eyes. He kept walking, not caring about being soaked to the bone with the chance of becoming ill. His grasp on the plastic bags tightened, doing his best to ignore the presences of people, both living and dead. The skies grew darker, the winds grew harsher, streaks of lightning brightened the skies, and the sound of thunder came crashing down on them every few minutes. It was getting worse and worse. He had to get out of the storm, but he didn't really care to. He just needed to get home and then he'd be fine, and he could write down whatever he noticed in the hero-villain fights. The slapping of footsteps on wet pavement caught his attention. They were rapid, getting closer and closer. Dread fell onto him like a curtain. The 12-year-old moved out of the way, leaning against the brick wall of a building. The source of the footsteps stopped right beside him. A man with dark eyes and dark hair, wearing a trench coat, stood right next to him with an umbrella. His eyes were kind, but that didn't mean the boy was going to trust him. He glanced around to leave, hoping to be able to get away, but the man squatted down to meet his gaze with a small smile. The rain pelted the water-resistant cloth, keeping the two from getting wet. "I'm Detective Tsukachi Naomasa," he introduced himself. "A detective?" The boy blinked widely behind his sunglasses as he took in the male's appearance. He took another step back, only to hit the wall of the building. "I should go." "I don't need to get sick," he said, ducking under the detective's outstretched arm, but he didn't get too far when he loosely grabbed his arm. "That's why I'm here. Come with me to the station until it lets up. You know where it is, right? I know you don't trust me, but come with me so you're out of the storm." He brought out his badge to show the boy, who reached out to grab it, and the man let him. The boy returned the badge after making sure it wasn't fake and followed the man. Just because the badge wasn't fake didn't mean he trusted him yet. He had learned that even the police could be bad people after a close encounter of it. He followed with his guard up, rubbing his arm with his free hand as he finally started feeling the chill of the cold water sinking deep into his skin. Not long after they left the side of the building did they arrive to the police station. The detective must have noticed him through the windows as he walked by. It wouldn't be hard to notice him, especially since a lot of people had made their way inside at the sign of the storm worsening. The green-haired boy never once spoke, walking up the steps and pulling out his phone to text his mom that he would be in the police station to wait out the storm. "Tsukachi, who's the kid?" questioned one of the policewomen who had noticed the child who had followed the detective in. He was shivering and clutching plastic bags full of groceries. He must have been headed home when the storm had hit, they noted. The boy pushed his hood back, revealing his green, curly hair. He moved his head up, meeting her eyes through the dark lenses of his glasses. "I'm Midoriya Izuku," he introduced himself, heading over to one of the chairs away from the criminals. He placed the bags down as he took off his soaking wet hoodie and took the blanket offered to him, wrapping himself up and curling into himself. The 12-year-old boy kept to himself, staying quiet as he watched the policemen and women do their jobs. The detective came by a few times, trying to spike up a conversation with the child, but it kept ending when his colleagues would come by and take him away for a few things. The next time he came back, Izuku was falling asleep. The small boy sat up and stretched as he felt the man sit beside him. "You okay? The rain is letting up now. If you want, I can take you." He shook his head. I'm fine with walking. I'll be heading out in a bit, he murmured. He stretched a bit as he met his eyes over the rim of his glasses. What's the case you're working on? A kidnapping. Oh, I heard about it on the news. The little kids, right? They turn up dead a few days later. The man you're holding isn't the one doing it, but he's still a terrible man. Tsukachi stared at the boy beside him, the one wrapped up like a small burrito halfway asleep. How old are you? 12. The guy has been staring at me for a while now. He's into kids, gross, but he isn't the one. He yawned as he glanced at the man who was outside the interrogation room. They had yet to put him into the room for whatever reason. How do you know? He questioned, deciding to see what he had to say. Maybe he knew something. Izuku sat up straighter as he stared at the ground. He took off his glasses, peering around the room. The man has a scar right here. He pointed to the end of his temple and moved down. One of the kids, I had seen them leave with a man with a scar. I didn't know if that was their dad or not, until their parents came onto the press conference asking for their child back. I should have said something, but who would believe a 12-year-old? I would. He watched the sudden snap of his eyes land on him with full-out attention. I can know when someone lies, it's my quirk. I'm basically a human lie detector. He earned a snort with a soft smile. I can give you a small description, but I can't guarantee how accurate it is. It'll be fine. It was 2 weeks after that encounter when everything was seeming to get worse and worse. It seemed that after having helped the detective with the kidnapping case, more and more ghouls started to pile up more and more, crowding at the edge of his vision. He couldn't leave his room at one point with how bad one of his panic attacks had gotten. He had fallen incredibly ill with the blooming fear, the continuous stench of rotting flesh. He would be found by his mom, throwing up whatever food he had eaten prior to it, curling in on himself. He had to get out of the apartment. He decided to leave a small note and headed out. Open air, but it did nothing to alleviate the pungent odor of rotting flesh. He ran quickly, his eyes wildly scanning the crowds. No ghouls, please, a place with no ghouls. He wasn't looking where he was going and ran smack into someone. I'm sorry, he apologized frantically. With his hair messed up, sticking everywhere in his wide, wild eyes, he was sure he looked like a crazy maniac. It's okay, Midoriya, came the oh-so-familiar voice. He met dark eyes that held kindness. He ran into Detective Tsukachi. He didn't trust his voice, so he nodded and made the movement to walk around him. What's wrong? Nothing. Lie, I just need to be alone. I don't want to talk about it. He wasn't let go. Detective, please let me go. I should be fine soon. Come on, we should get some tea. I don't trust you being alone in such disarray. Okay, he nodded. Midoriya has expressed an interest in police cases, so Naomasa had decided to tell him about a few, those that didn't have such gory details, light ones. He had proved to be helpful with the cases. He'd like to see him join the force when he's older. It didn't happen the way he wanted it to. Midoriya Izuku was an unofficial investigator for the station by the age of 13. He had stumbled upon murders or had found bodies. He would call Naomasa and tell him about them. Naomasa was starting to worry for the boy, but it was all helpful. He was worried for his mental health, but it just seemed that he was used to it all, something that set off warning bells, but Midoriya had reassured him while keeping the truth hidden. He spoke to the boy every time he had the chance, telling him he didn't have to keep helping them, but he just received a small smile and the same phrase. It's okay. I want to help. It seemed that no matter how much he tried, the boy wouldn't stop. Some heroes expressed their concerns, but were shut down when the kid would tell them they could deal with it or forget about it because he was helping. Some heroes weren't happy with that response, but they stayed out of his way as he did his job. The kid was determined. Having been told many times that he was quirkless and can't become a hero, the boy had been adamant on helping however he could. Naomasa sighed since it was sort of his fault that Midoriya was in this whole mess. But he also felt relieved since most of the cases that Midoriya worked on were solved quickly. The longest was a month. Hello, Midoriya, he greeted, walking over to the boy. 14 years old now, the boy had grown so much from the last time he had seen him, which was about 2 months ago. A cold January day, he had been called in for a recent murder. The husband of a woman who was hysterical at seeing the scene of her husband's dead body on the ground. The woman had called about it, wanting them to search for the killer. She had personally made the police station her home, visiting every day and bringing by a few snacks or even home-cooked meals. For some of the officers, it went on for a few days, until they had decided to call the young boy in to see if he could spot something they couldn't or hadn't. A need for fresh eyes. No harm could come from that, right? They had no idea just what chain of events will come from this. Midoriya smiled and nodded to Tsukachi with a few words. He greeted the other officers with a smile and went up to the table with the files. He looked over them with a small hum, propping his head on his palm to get comfortable. He went over the notes, making a small conversation with Tsukachi. They both came up with ideas, Tsukachi using his skills as a profiler and detective to help piece the clues together. A few of the officers came in when Izuku would call onto a passerby and ask them about their opinion on something that had caught his attention. It went on like that until the woman came in. Midoriya smiled at the woman in politeness. The redhead returned it solemnly. "Who is this?" she questioned with curiosity in her hazel eyes which were trained on Tsukachi. "This is a friend of mine's son," he lied. Midoriya Izuku meet Hikawa Achara. The green-haired boy met her gaze and something was in there, something that he hadn't seen in any other's eyes. A look of someone who had seen a lot over the years, something old. When their gazes locked together, there was a flash of purple in Midoriya's eyes, something that Tsukachi didn't catch, but Hikawa did. In a rush, thoughts and memories crashed into her mind. The child of death, the one who took death away from me, this is him. It's a pleasure to meet you, Midoriya Izuku. Death will regret throwing me aside, and it starts with this meeting between champions. Death is standing beside Sloth and Fate, watching their champions' friends talking. They know that they needed to be stopped if they didn't want their child's plan to be glances over at Death with red, tired eyes. He really doesn't like questioning the embodiment of death itself, but he really needs to know just exactly if the plan will even work or they're only going to have another incident with Death's champion. They don't need another corrupted child of death. "You think this will work?" he inquires in a monotonous tone. "If it doesn't, we'll wait, see what Izuku decides on, how to act." They glance over at Fate, who shrugs and leaves them. The being with dark circles under his eyes shakes his head, pale azure hair falling into his face. "Why must he be such a pain?" asked. The same question, Sloth. Beetles in the same hospital as the students of UA, trying to pick the right moment to intervene on their idiocy. Finally, he decides it doesn't matter and walks into the room with his sharp, pearly teeth flashing at them. The stench of sulfur and death fills the room, and the few that had been there with Midoriya remembers the smell. They turn to the source and find the man behind it. "Who are you?" questions Todoroki with an icy glare. Beetle grins even more, opening his mouth. "My name's Beetle. I'm a friend of Izuku's." He enjoys the reaction he gets from the children, the shudders that run through them, the fear that is held in those eyes. "Deku never mentioned you," says Uraraka. Her eyes narrow as she stares at him with suspicion. "Oh, come now, Uraraka. Izu has spoken highly of you. Don't tarnish my image of you. I just came tell you that if you plan on going through with your little plan, I'll be going to tell Tsukachi and Izu." He crosses further into the room and sits on the edge of the bed. He crosses his legs and smiles. The thing that is frustrating them is how casual he is, like this only a casual meeting among friends gossiping about other people's love lives or even just recounting funny memories. "You're going to tell Deku? How? I can sneak in and out without people knowing I'm there." It's quiet for a few seconds until Todoroki punches the wall beside him, earning flinches from the four others. The only emotion that shows in his heterochromic eyes is rage, his voice iced with disbelief. "Then why aren't you bringing them here?" He tilts his head at the sudden outburst that's quite out of characteristic of Todoroki. The dual quirk user cares for them. He felt useless when they had been taken. He was right there and let them slip through his fingers. He should have done something. Beetle grins, knowing that that is his train of thought. "I'm acting on orders. Izuku won't let me help them. This is my mission and you will not ruin it. If Izuku finds out, he will alert the villains." "Why would he do that?" "He has a plan," Iida speaks up. "If it means that my classmates won't go and endanger themselves, then I'll have to trust Midoriya on this." They all fall silent and stare between the two, waiting for confirmation. The human ghoul nods, affirming the comment. "He isn't lying, guys. He will tell Midoriya, and knowing him, he will make sure his plan won't be stopped even if it means endangering you and himself." "Wait," calls Uraraka at the ghoul who is about to leave. He turns his head a little to indicate his attention. "Deku Toga Himiko said that he made a contract with Shigaraki. Something about it. Do you know anything?" Beetle stops for a second before turning fully around to meet the faces of his brother's friends. Yaoyorozu, Kirishima, Iida, Todoroki, and Uraraka. Kirishima and Yaoyorozu have yet to say anything on the matter, but Beetle can see the concern and surprise on their faces, so they don't know. Iida must have found out through Todoroki and Uraraka. Of course they told him they're friends. Sighing, he turns toward the group of five. "If you want to know, you can't say a word about any of this to anyone outside this room." "Understand?" They nod in understanding. He sighs again as he can see just how much his brother influenced them. While having made the contract, they cannot under any circumstances lie to each other. The punishment for trying to lie is harsh, but that isn't the only thing about it. He despises this part. But that isn't the only thing. Upon the second meeting, and if it isn't to uphold it, then they cannot go farther than 10 feet from the other unless given permission. If the same person doesn't not uphold their side of the contract, they will fall under the command of the one who did. In this case, Shigaraki has all control on Izuku. So what if Shigaraki tells Deku not to uphold his side of the deal? He can't. If he does, the contract nullifies and Izuku will get away. There's something that he wants and he isn't willing to give that up yet. Uraraka sighs in relief. If anyone would be able to plan for everything, it's Deku. She knows that he will have, you do something for him if it means at least one person gets away, that person, to Deku being, you. She just hopes that they last long enough for Deku's plan to unfold. Dying, it hurts so much. Feeling the blade plunge into him, ripping the flesh apart as it tears into his heart, it is complete agony. He stares into the wide yellow eyes as his own green ones shine slightly. He breathes out shakily, reaching up and removing the knife from his chest. Everyone watches as his eyes roll back and he drops to the ground. Yu stares at him with wide eyes full of surprise and complete horror since the kid he had tormented throughout their childhood just took a knife for him. I don't get why we went through so much trouble for these two only to kill one off, says Dabi, who looks away from the scene. I like the kid, oh well. It doesn't matter who dies and who lives. As long as they willingly cooperates with us. Shigaraki steps closer to Yu unless they want the same thing to happen to everyone else but slower. Yu spits at Shigaraki. Go to hell, bastard. He turns to the Kurogiri whose phone was going off. 3 minutes have passed by already. He looks down at Midoriya and kicks him. Get up. Toga glances over at Dabi. He knows that he's dead, right? He's insane, just play along. A low groan comes from the supposed dead body. Midoriya slowly but surely pushes himself away up. Twice shrieks and jumps into Spinner's arms as he yells about a zombie. Midoriya looks up and meets the villain's eyes. How about immortal? He snaps, glaring harshly as he stands swaying on his feet. And zombies. They don't exist, idiot, now ghouls, they are whole another story. Deku, what the fuck? Izuku blatantly ignores him and sits back down at the glare he receives from Shigaraki. He keeps any expression off his face as he stares at the ground. Honestly, I've died twice tonight, I think that counts as a record. Are you sure you want to become a hero? Questions Magni. Izuku grins at them with faux innocence, tilting his head to the side. With the pale eyes, it makes him seem creepier than he already looked. What's so shocking about that? He leans back in his seat as he waits for Shigaraki to say something. It really annoys him that he has gotten as low as waiting on a villain to speak without fighting it. Katsuki has been silent since the last question. He doesn't know how to process the situation. Any anger and hatred he has for Deku isn't there anymore. They've been replaced by concern and horror. Fear for their lives, wondering how Deku can turn this whole thing into a joke. Their lives are on the line and he is just laughing about it. It's sickening. How can this be a grand old joke to him? He acts like he doesn't care about his own life. How about immortal? He's immortal. That is what he said. But Katsuki himself isn't. He can die. Deku cannot. Deku is treating this all like a joke. That bastard, if they get out of this, he's going to kill him. Enough chit-chat, the leader growls. Katsuki hates him, who doesn't he hate? And wants to kill him, but he can't. Not when he's tied to a chair and his hands are cuffed together. How pathetic he, one of the greatest of their class and maybe out of their generation, must look to be at the mercy of villains with the one he hated most, jumping in front of the knife and die only to get right back up after 3 minutes. Even during those 3 minutes, he seemed dead on his feet. A whole lot snappier than he usually is, meaner. It's a little terrifying, those angered and pain-filled, glassy eyes landing on him. The pale, blurry eyes, for a moment he had thought the same thing as Kurogiri. He thought that Deku had gone blind. That moment was shattered when he could see them. It's so weird. How are his eyes like that, but he can still see? It just makes no sense. Tomura glares at the two children, insolent hero wannabes. He scowls harshly, knowing that they will not join them no matter what. Midoriya wouldn't allow them to kill. And he knows that he cannot order him to kill him or even to force him to not finish the contract. It's not something he can do, it sucks. He hates this so much. He can't command him to do certain things, so now he's stuck with this annoying brat that the witch wants dead. Of course, he won't give that stupid bitch the boy. For some reason, his sensei wants to speak with the brat when he calls again. For now, he wants to see how long it will take for the angry blonde lose his mind. Since the green brat can't die, maybe he can show the blonde how useless he is, how he won't be able to save anyone. How else do you want to die tonight, Izuku? He grins as the look of realization brightens the boy's face, worried eyes flicking over to, You wouldn't do that. I wouldn't. The steely edge in his voice is sharper than a knife as he places a finger on his face. You wasted my time, Izuku. If only you agreed, but you and your stubbornness. He cuts himself off as he removes his finger and places his hand on the hero's shoulder. His quirk starts to eat away at his shoulder. He can see his jaw tighten, holding back noises of pain, but the tears well up and cascade down his pale cheeks. He takes his hand away, moving to the side of his face. Stop, everyone turns to, you rage in red irises, glowering harshly at the villain. He doesn't understand why he's doing this. He wanted them to join, so why was he hurting the shitty nerd now? Just stop. You bastard, how about you be quiet? Snaps Dabi, who steps forward, glaring harshly at the blonde. It's on you. You could have joined when you had a chance. Of course you still could join, but it all depends. Shigaraki hums as he grabs the knife from Toga and slits Midoriya's throat. Wide eyes never leave the crimson eyes, choking and coughing up blood. Yu watches on with horror. He can't do anything but watch as Midoriya chokes on his own blood, spluttering as his head drops forward and his body falls limp. The silence between them is thickening. This is the second time the boy has died, the second time that the blonde has to watch. Go to hell. I want to see how long that little attitude of yours lasts. Shigaraki gives a sinister smile and starts to head to the back. Before entering the room, he stops and turns to the hero in training. You can go ahead and insult me all you want, but it doesn't matter since it won't help you save anyone. You all can just hang around or continue killing Midoriya, whichever you find more fun. I don't care what you do, just don't destroy anything. The pot calling the kettle black. Spinner rolls his eyes as he heads over to the counter and sits down, asking for a drink. Kurogiri shakes his head but allows it, telling him that he will have to pay for it later. A few of the other villains join in, but some of them stayed near Midoriya, and Yu there waiting for the green-haired boy to wake up. That is what. Yu notices the three Toga, Dabi, and Twice are huddled around each other, talking quietly. Crimson eyes keep sweeping around the room, refusing to land on the teen that he has known since childhood, the teen whose throat has been slit. He doesn't want to be reminded about his helplessness. He doesn't want to see the skin stitch itself together again. He doesn't want to see or remember any of it. He wants this nightmare to be over with, to wake up in his bed and be in a state of relief that Deku is safe and isn't being killed over and over again, which is no way possible. But such hope is meaningless. For 5 hours, they kill the boy who can only die for 3 to 5 minutes. Scars upon scars start to pile up. Yu is going to be sick. He has to spectate as his old childhood friend is mutilated, left to bleed out, forced to drink chemicals that can kill him and cause serious internal damage, and so many more different ways. He watches those eyes lose any light in them. He watches as Deku's body would fall limp. It's driving him mad. He doesn't want to watch this hellish act. How can that shitty nerd just sit there and take it? How can he just let them kill him over and over and over again and do nothing? He never did anything when you torment him. That little voice just has to remind him. Why doesn't that nerd ever fight back? It's frustrating. Why? Why doesn't he fight back? He is shown to have a spine, but how is it that he doesn't even use it? Is it all an act? Damn it, stop killing him. Please, he can't continue seeing this. He can't listen to him gag and cough, throwing up whatever contents he has in his stomach or blood. Stop, please. He finally can't take it anymore and turns away, swallowing the bile that rises up in his throat. He throws up. He can't. This they have to stop. No matter how many times he tried to close his eyes, the villains would notice and grin. They saw how it was starting to impact the hero in training. They started killing the boy slowly as another forced the blonde in place. They made sure he can't move his head as he listened and gawked at the scene of the victim struggling underneath their grasp, screaming with such agony it sounded like a banshee warning the listener of their upcoming death. It's around midnight where they all get tired of it. They let the two heroes on their own as they leave to rest. Dabi, Toga, and the others already fell asleep. Midoriya is breathing harshly, raising his head to meet Yu's eyes. He gives him a small smile to reassure the hothead, but all he gets is a glare in return. What the fuck, Deku? He whispers in a harsh tone. He doesn't want to believe that this is real. It can't be real. There's no way Deku can't die, but it seems that it's true. Why are you letting them do that to you? What the hell is wrong with you? Midoriya's eyes darken, his lips press firmly to a grim line. I don't know, maybe my mental stability took a swan dive off the roof. The memory of the suicide bait is a harsh one. Yu flinches as he glances away from the scarred form of the boy he always known since they were kids. It's your fault, that's the wrong thing to say. What's my fault, Katsuki? He growls, leaning forward as far as the handcuffs let him. Tell me, you sick bastard. What's my fault? Everything, he hisses, keeping his voice in check to keep from waking the others, unlike Midoriya, who doesn't seem to care about putting on a show for them. Not with how loud he continues to get. Everything is your fault. Maybe if you had the balls, then you can stand up for yourself. Silence, then laughter. You think that that's my fault, so you telling me to die is my fault. How about you take the goddamn blame, you sick son of a bitch? He yells, not caring about waking anyone. It'll be good to have an audience. His plan would begin to work so much better. If you weren't such a fucking psychopath, then maybe you wouldn't even be in this position. I'm the psychopath? Yes, for fuck's sake, you are the embodiment of psychopathy. You're violent, you're arrogant. You feel no remorse for the damn things you do. You take joy in hurting the people around you. I can go on, but even then you wouldn't understand and then start blaming me. Tell me. What kind of hero tells someone to fucking kill themselves? Silence once again, and an audience member has arrived but stays out of sight. Answer me, damn it, he kicks. You in the stomach, sort of glad that they didn't tie up his legs. Honestly, you're more of a villain than a hero. All you care about is being number one. Why don't you become a villain then? You could honestly be the number one villain. Maybe even done something in sports, business. You could be the number one in anything, and you chose something that is the polar opposite of you. You don't care about anyone. I am sure as hell that you lack empathy, which, newsflash, is another sign of psychopathy. He notices those intense green eyes that shine brightly with rage. He doesn't say anything. He wants to blame him, but that doesn't seem to be the right thing to do. Everything he says seems to get an angered reply, so he decides to stay quiet. Answer me, or what? You're going to blame me, huh? Am I to blame for your enjoyment of others' pain? He kicks him again. Tell me. He calms down enough for his voice to crack as he asks, am I to blame? Katsuki just stays silent. He wants to get angry, but he doesn't. He knows it's true. Everything the other is saying, he can't deny it. He isn't to blame. Midoriya is only his scapegoat. He stares into those blurry pale eyes, and he can see just how much anger and pain the teen has held back. The one who has always been emotional until the age of 12. The one who hides his sadness from the world unless he decides to trust people to see it. Tears of sadness gather in those pale irises and cascade down onto freckled cheeks. It's been so long since he's seen the kid cry. Why am I to blame? He whispers. Why do you hate me so much that I'm the one at fault for everything? What did I do to you? Nothing. Katsuki meets his eyes, letting the words slip from his mouth. You did nothing to me. He growls as he tries to lunge forward and punch him, but he can't, not with the quirk suppressants on him. He settles with kicking him again. You don't deserve to be a hero, he mutters darkly, his curly hair acting as a curtain to hide his face. Yu doesn't say anything, dropping his gaze to the ground. He knows that he deserves to be told that. Izuku stares at him for the longest of time, and yet never receives a response. He shakes his head and scoffs as he closes his eyes and gets into a comfortable position, or as comfortable as he can with his hands cuffed behind his back and sitting on a wooden chair. The onlooker glances between the two before heading back to their room they have in the back. Maybe this will be easier than I thought. And the puppeteer shouts, may the waltz of the marionettes commence. And dance and dance and dance, the puppets glide swiftly across the ballroom floor, the darkness around them, and everywhere they step, a spotlight shines on them. May the waltz continue, twirling around the other in beautiful harmony and showing off to the audience their skills. Their hands and feet are tied with golden silk as fate watches with a smile. Don't stop. He puts on a show for all to see, such a beautiful dance, to see the talents of these puppets grinning with ferocity. Let this masquerade continue, don't let it stop. And spin and spin and spin, they sway in their place as they're held up above the ground for mere seconds by the puppeteer himself. Gracefully are they placed back on the marble floor, continuing their small waltz. Their tails weave together. He guides them all to their rightful paths. This small dance is only the interlude of the masquerade. Soon the mask should come off and everything will be revealed. A storm blows into the city. An eerie warning as the earth knows just how bad the future shall become. The morning is full of the pitter-patter of rain hitting the rooftop and wind howling with sorrow and loneliness. To life, it sounds of a violin being played for a dark waltz. The composer, full of despair, graciously moves their fingers and the bow being run over the strings, creating a melancholic yet beautiful melody. Life sighs as she has to watch the ordeal happen between the villains and the two heroes. She looks on with sympathy, knowing that this is all going to be repeated elsewhere. No matter how many millennia she lives, she sees the same pattern. Everything happens the same whether to one person or another. Midoriya wakes up to being alone. Yu is nowhere in sight. Where is he? He thinks. No one else is in there from what he can see. He struggles against the handcuffs to no avail. Once again, he glances around looking for someone. This time, he finds Shigaraki leaning against the wall and staring at him with a smirk on his face. "Where is he?" he inquires. "Talking to my sensei. I overheard your little conversation last night." He grins even more when he sees the flash of panic. The feeling of euphoria passes through the villain's body as he knows that they'll be quite triumphant in the end. All they need is to have them turn on each other. "Oh, don't worry yourself, Izuku." He pats the curly mass of green. "Just know if you join us you can make him pay for all of the things he's done to you." After all, what kind of hero tells someone to kill themselves? Izuku doesn't say anything, fighting the urge to smile and laugh. Is he trying to manipulate me? This is going to be fun then. He closes his eyes, hoping that this isn't real, that this part specifically is only a dream. But nope. He can't help but find it a little worrisome at the way he can make the offer so tempting, especially since Izuku isn't one to be manipulated all that easily. This guy is being only a puppet, not the puppeteer. Knowing this, he decides to play along. You really think that?" The corners of his lip twitches in an almost mocking smile. "Of course. You won't have to deal with that insolent boy anymore if you just join us. You can always get revenge." He shakes his head. "Two can play at this game, Tomura. Don't think I'm that easy." "No. You're only trying to get into my head. There's no way I'm ever going to become a villain. It doesn't matter what happened, but it does," he interjects, forcing himself to not get mad. "Time and patience. That's all he needs for this stupid brat." He saw it, he almost broke his resolve. He wants to join them, he wants to have them pay for hurting him. They screwed up. The heroes screwed up, and now, Tomura has the child in his hands. He leans forward, gently grabbing his chin and meeting his eyes. "If it didn't matter, then why did you bring it up in the first place?" Izuku stays silent, turning away from the crazy male. He isn't going to give him any answers because there is no way that he's dumb enough to actually let him get into his head. Of course, he still needs to put up that act. He has to give him what he wants, but not yet. No, it'll be way too suspicious if it's too early. He has to wait for the right moment. It's coming, he can feel it. Sometime today, they fall into a silence that most wouldn't find comfortable in Midoriya's position. He continues to steal glances before stopping altogether. He waits for Yu to return, but it doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon. "You want to know about my connection with death?" he finally asks. "Yes," he admits, a curious gleam growing in his red irises. He wants to know more about him. "You're a strange one, Izuku, and I want to know why. You do realize what it'll mean, yes? Do you want everyone you love dead?" he questions right back, leaning forward a bit. He holds his gaze as he gives him the second choice. "Or would you rather stay with me?" Midoriya leans forward, their eyes meeting for the entire time he speaks. "You might want to rephrase that last sentence. It sounds like you're asking me out. Please, you're worse than the dirt under my shoe, you're a pebble. I've been called worse. You should up your game in insulting me. I assure you, you can insult me better later on. Don't know when or how long you take, but hey, you'll get the hang of it. You're really an odd child, cheeky little brat," he shrugs as he leans back. "Do you want me to explain?" A nod. "All right," and so he explains. It doesn't matter to him anymore since he won't want to continue having the contract that they have together. He doesn't want to be near the villain, plus, he won't be able to complete his plan without completing the contract first. He needs to get everything in place. Once he finishes, they sit in another moment of silence. Shigaraki staring at him for a bit while the child of death leans back and closes his eyes, feeling the contract sigil dissipate from the back of his hand. He never says anything as he studies him. A spectator spectating an animal locked up, that's their relationship at the moment. All they do is stare at each other, not once moving from their spots. Finally, Tomura gets to his feet. He's smiling down at the child of death. "Kurogiri, I'll be back in a few. Keep an eye on the cheeky brat here. A villain who doesn't know how to insult," he whispers under his breath with a small sigh and shake of the head. He just holds a look of disappointment as he watches and waits. Once the villain is gone and Izuku turns to Kurogiri. "Do you have someone other than Dabi that can insult people?" Shigaraki is he's a disappointment. "Tell me about it," the Black Mist responds, shaking his head at the hero who just quirked his lip up and leaned against the back of the chair. He watches the green-haired boy, the one that seems to not care about the things around him yet at the same time does. He is so strange that it makes no sense to the Black Mist. If a hero is to act like this at a young age, how would they act when they're older? How would the public react to seeing such a side? Where did he even go? Shouldn't he be on alert since the heroes are looking for him? He's headed to where Hikawa is residing in, he answers, walking over and unlocking one handcuff. He hands him Tomura's hoodie, the one he used the day they met at Kiyashi Ward. The boy sighs and changes, pulling the villain's hoodie over his head and basically drowning in it a bit. If he was still the string bean of a teen he was before, he would be drowning in an ocean of fabric. I thought he said he didn't know where he could find her. I told him after your meeting along with her name. I had to do a lot of research to find it out. Before either one of them can say anything, Yu returns with a scowl and blood on his face. Spinner leads him while Dabi is behind him. Toga is at his side, skipping with a grin on her face. She's so happy at the sight of blood. She rambles on and on about how cute he looks while not holding a candle to Midoriya. They notice the boy awake and some of them want to kill him again, but they're under strict orders at the moment. Katsuki is sat down and tied back up, uncharacteristically silent as he glances at Midoriya. He is going over what the faceless freak had said about Midoriya. Do you honestly believe that he is trustworthy? You must find it weird, yes. Once he enters UA, villains attack it. He's the target for some of them. He's not a target. He was a quirkless nerd before everything. But don't you find that strange? A child thought to be quirkless has a quirk he cannot control around the same time as the entrance exams, catches the eye of All Might while all at the same time villains are attacking. They spent their time like that. He was trying to get a rise out of. He was trying to get into his head and have him question everything he knew about the shitty nerd. Yes, he's curious about the sudden quirk, but the thing is, he knows that the other isn't capable of being a villain. He knows how to act like one, he's seen that before, but never become one, wrapping them all around his finger. He realizes that the other might have a plan, and it pisses him off when he can see that he hadn't said a word about it or even shown any signs of it. The guy's insane. I've known the shitty nerd for years, he'd never become a villain. There's that stupid determination that he fucking has. He won't become a villain. Katsuki isn't going to let that faceless creep get into his head. No, he isn't going to allow that to happen. He's known the shitty for a long time. This man has no idea who Midoriya is or what his drive is. Let's have a little more fun. Come on, I'm feeling antsy for the feel of blood on my hands, exclaims the crazy girl. She raises her knife, pressing it against Midoriya's windpipe. Katsuki closes his eyes, not wanting to see it happen anymore. The room darkens. The air grows heavy, thick with rancid flesh and sulfur. Midoriya's eyes widen as he sees a man with red hair in a messy braid grin at the villains. Katsuki doesn't understand what the hell is going on. Who the hell is this guy? The villains don't seem to know him, which leads to the question, is he a hero or a villain? Hello, hello. His voice raspy and deep bounces off the walls as he greets the occupants of the room who are staring at the human ghoul that just appeared. It's nice meeting you villains, but sadly we won't have the pleasure of time on our side. A cruel smile replaces his overly friendly one. I came for the heroes. A pause. Well, hero, the nerd stares at the ghoul upon hearing the correction. Katsuki isn't sure about it himself. That means he's only going to save one of us. What? What the hell are you fucking talking about? The look on the nerd's face says it all. He understands the situation. Poison fills his violet eyes, a gleam so sinister that the villains aren't sure that they could fight this thing and win. There's just something that isn't right. This man, what is he and what quirk did he have? The redhead, before anyone could react, lunges for the blonde and grabs him, pulling him out of his binds and pulls him into the shadows. Sorry kid, he says, his eyes on the green-haired boy. I guess you're not all that cared about. No one ever asked for you. He melts into the shadows, taking with him the smell and the blonde, all with haunting laughter that echoes through the air. The taunting of the ghoul as he leaves Midoriya, Izuku there gawking with wide eyes, forehead scrunched up as he watched on with betrayal displayed on his face. No one ever asked for you. Harsh words. In desperation, the boy starts screaming and struggling. No, please no, come back, please, don't leave me, please don't leave. He struggles a little more before he just gapes at the place where the ghoul disappeared through. He weakly tries again, but nothing. His shoulders are shaking as he holds back sobs. Tears stream down his face as his head drops down, chin touching chest, trembling as he forces back his cries of despair. He was left behind. He was discarded like trash, as if he was never important. Please don't leave me. Kurogiri watches the whole transaction occur with nothing but glee. Maybe now the child will listen. Maybe now the child will help them. Kurogiri has them help him to his feet, and he wraps him to all for one. Just one more push. A little push and they can get the child tumbling off the cliff and have him descend into the ocean below. Trust only leads to treachery, he says to the now silent boy, the one who would have poison on his tongue every time he spoke to them. He's silent and holds no fight. He's silent and reflects like broken glass. He is cracked, and with the help of all for one will he shatter. Picking up the pieces will be the hard part. It's all about being careful to not get cut. If anything, putting the boy back together, well, he won't be the same again. His master will make sure of it. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey today. I hope you enjoyed exploring the fascinating what-if scenario of Deku. The possibilities were truly mind-blowing. If you found this video entertaining, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means the world to me and inspires me to bring you more captivating content in the future. Stay tuned for more exciting what-if stories and other amazing videos coming your way. Until next time, take care, stay curious.